Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 402. I'm Frank. I got Mike here with me. Mike, what's going on?
Frank, I have a hypothetical for you.
You would. I had a feeling I could see in your eyes you had something you wanted to ask me.
You saw me researching over here. So I love these things. They're all over social. We see them on Instagram. I saw this one on Instagram. It was from the handle 2 inches short.
Okay.
All right. They said, hypothetically, let's say Tiger comes back and wins his record-breaking 19th major without thinking. He just throws the balls in the gallery. Hypothetically. I know. It's go. Okay. He goes, you're lucky enough to catch it. Now he wants it back. What do you want in return? Now, this is interesting because it's just coming off the heels of the recent story. A few weeks ago, Tom Brady threw a 600 touchdown pass. I don't know if you saw this. Throws the ball. The receiver throws the ball in the crowd like he usually does. I did hear an update to that story because originally he was getting some signed memorabilia. Tom Brady's now giving him a Bitcoin, which is now valued at like 70 grand per. So he's tossing the guy a Bitcoin.
Nice.
So that levels it up.
Tip.
That's a nice tip, right?
Yeah.
Because that 600th ball is going to be worth something. Now this, I got to think, is going to be just as high value, if not more, because that ball I heard is going to fetch like 500 to 900K at auction.
I could see that. I mean,
Tiger's
we had talks
19th
this week
major
about his putter
millions.
fetching $1 million.
Right. This is millions. This is more. I think this is more. Tiger breaking it more. So to come back to the question, he wants the ball back. What do you want in return?
I think there's always something about the idea of blackmailing one of your heroes that makes me a little bit not feeling
but he's
quite
open for it.
comfortable.
This is him saying, what do you want, man?
What do you want?
I'll give you whatever you want.
Jeez. I mean,
it's hard. I know.
I almost feel like I'd be like, can we get a round?
Okay.
Let's get a round in.
So you're thinking around.
I mean, I get it. You'd be
Augusta.
comfortable for a while with money. But, you only live once. You don't take your money with you.
Exactly.
It's experiences, right?
Exactly.
I kind of feel like I'd be like, hey, can we get a round at Augusta together?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Right. I think
if you wanted Augusta, I'd be like, stick around, play tomorrow.
Yeah. I love that. What
would you do?
I mean, I'm very similar. I mean, this guy writes in the comments, just give it back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and there's a part of me
that
just
wants
the
to.
karma is just being like, yo, man, like,
I know
you're a big hero of mine.
So,
you're part of why we do what we do. Here's the ball back. Enjoy.
I'd love to hear your guys' response, but I think I'm right there with you. I think that money didn't even enter the brain. I just instantly thought of playing with him, getting a lesson with him, having lunch with him.
Yeah,
like the intent, like that stuff is like, I think I go, listen, do what you got to do, Tiger. Set it up. Let's go up. Just fly me down to Augusta. Let's play around and let's just storytell throughout the round with me about this place.
I almost feel like if you were kind enough to just give it back, he'd probably offer one of those things.
There's no doubt that he would hook it up.
You know what it makes me think of, though?
What?
I mean, you're a big Seinfeld guy. It makes me think of the Armani suit.
The Mendy's?
Yeah, where he says, buy me a lunch.
Buy me lunch.
This is not my lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's an Armani
This is the meal.
suit.
Want to go to Mendy's? This is the meal.
This is
the
meal.
meal. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Soup. Right.
You're absolutely right. But then again, you don't know. Look at Tom Brady. Signed helmet. I'd be like, yeah, you can have this back.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear you. So it's nice, but
right.
You could take the ball. You're Tom Brady.
I guess. I mean, it would be. We can all think hypothetical until you've got that thing in your actual possession, and you've got people offering you 6 figures for it. I guess that's where it really shows what you're made of. If you're just going to be like, just give up that money.
Yeah.
I mean, we need the money a lot more than Tiger does.
Right. That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I'll tell you what. Let us know what you guys would do.
Yeah, let us know.
Drop a comment. Leave us a message on our Golficity Clubhouse community on Leveler. We'll get a conversation going. I'd love to hear it. Speaking of dropping a comment, by the way, if you guys haven't already noticed, we've got a new home for the podcast on YouTube, a brand new channel that we launched. Effectively, just trying to tidy things up a little bit. The Golficity YouTube channel, we've got a lot of big things planned, and we just wanted to keep it a little more organized.
It was like she was growing up. We kicked her out. We said, you got to get out of the house. It's time to go on your own platform.
It was time just let the wings
refresh
fly
a little bit. We wanted it because we're going to do a lot of fun new video things, and we just didn't want to muddy the waters.
Plus, we want to do more with the podcast.
Exactly.
It's a big thing that we want to do. So we want it to have its own kind of place that it could just be its thing, do its thing. So we've got a brand new channel. We'll link to it. Like, I know some of you listen to it and occasionally watch it, or vice versa. So if you're a listener and you're like, I'm not seeing it on the channel, where do I find it? There's a brand new channel. We'll link to it in the show notes.
I think you are going to want to start watching if you're a listener, though.
Yeah, we got big plans.
Big plans.
Big plans to bring a whole new visual experience to the show.
There you go.
And of course, I know a lot of you you love the audio, the listening. We're not leaving you out in any way. We're going to continue to do what we do, but we just want to grow and just kind of do some things that we've been dying to do. with the show.
That's
so we're working here in the office as we get into these colder months. We've got a little more time here in the office. We're going to be doing a big refresh. So stay tuned because we've got a lot of exciting things coming. Speaking of which, in a minute, we're going to dive into our instruction segment. We like to do a little instruction segment on as many of these shows as we can. Like I said, if we learn something, we try to bring it to you guys. And one big thing, I mean, we all want to get more distance. I have personally picked up more distance on my drives this season than I have in any previous year. I find it's not big things. It's not like these aha moments where it's just like you do one thing and all of a sudden you pick up 30 yards. I find that it's all these little pieces and understanding like the mechanics and then just slowly trying to work them in, because I mean, we all know swing changes take time. It takes time to develop. And I'm really been bigger and bigger into this whole feel versus real thing, where on a feel standpoint, you really exaggerate the movement because you're not going to end up doing that when there's a real ball there and you're really swinging, So it's just if you can feel like a big feeling, and then when you go to do it, if a little bit of that gets incorporated, you get more out of it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about one drill that you can do that kind of like really feels what it feels like to use that ground force. And ground force is something that we're seeing become more and more kind of the language that we're speaking as amateurs too, whereas I feel like before it was really resigned for some of your best players, and it's huge with the whole long drive community. But as we start to get these more high-tech lessons get available to us, and we're using things like Swing Cat, or we did the salted golf where you have in your shoes, you have effectively little force plates that are in there as insoles, and you're measuring these things. And you start to realize how you can use that ground force to get more out of it. One of the craziest things was, I remember, Mike, when we were doing that lesson out in Connecticut at the Golf Performance Center. And they were talking about how they got a long drive guy through there, and he was able to put 700 pounds of force into the ground during his swing. And the nice part about the ground is it's not going anywhere. Whatever you put in, it's pushing back with that equal force, right? Okay, so you're not pushing the earth down, moving us off our axis here. So he was able to, I mean, a guy who only weighs like less than 300 pounds is able to amplify his weight and push down into the ground and push that kind of force. I'm not saying that, I mean, this is simple physics. He didn't weigh that much, but I'm saying similar to like how you can, squat press more than you weigh. You're pushing that into the ground. And by doing that, the ground's going to push back, and you can use that energy that gets stored in that and put it into your swing. And it does tremendous things for how far you can hit the ball.
Using that ground, man. Those long drive guys, they're
incredible at it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about how you see it, but like you see their slow motion swings, they're like almost off the ground.
Yes.
It's because they've pushed so hard into the ground. I mean, guys even on tour like this, I'm thinking of Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, who we've had on the show.
They're like airborne.
They're all literally off the ground. Now, I'm not saying for you guys to take it that far, because it takes a lot of work to be able to control that. But if you can introduce a small element of it, just a couple more, pounds of pressure that you can put into it, you'll be surprised at how that translates to swing speed and the force that you can enact on the ball.
It's insane. It's insane. And I've never think about ground. I mean, we've did that Swing Cat.
And that's where you start to see it. You start to visualize the ground forces.
So an amateur golfer like us who don't do this, are we generating about the same as our weight? Like, what's our force?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm no.
Is that something we should go measure?
I don't know, but I think anything that you can measure, you've heard this before, you can improve.
Yep.
And I think as we start to have these tools become available to us, like the force plates, that like the salted, it's because the reality is, a Swing Catalyst, that mat that you stand on that measures the ground forces, very expensive. It's like a $20,000 unit. Yeah. But a lot more and more coaches are having it, so they can put you on that. Or there are these technology, like I think Salted only costs like $250.
Yeah, if that.
And it measures similarly. So obviously not to the same amount that a $20,000 unit would, but it gives you an idea. But once you start to measure that, you can start to work on seeing where your baseline is and improve it. And there's things that can improve it. General fitness, being, stronger. I mean, a lot of these long drive guys and the guys on tour, they're putting a lot of time and energy into their fitness. But I think what comes back to something we talk about here on the show so often is just understanding it. And I think that's why we don't leverage it as your everyday golfers, because we're not even aware of it. It's something that the best players and the best coaches are more cognizant of than we are. Like, we're doing it because obviously we're standing, we're applying force into the ground, but because we're not thinking about how that enacts on our golf swing, we're not looking to optimize it. But once you become aware of it, you start optimizing.
Right, absolutely.
Right? So I think that's where we can dive into it a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. So we're going to do that in a minute. Before we do, the other thing I want to point out, guys, if you haven't already joined our community on Leveler, our Clubhouse community, give it a look. We have a free trial. You can get in for, I think it's 2 weeks free trial. And it's just been such an awesome growing community. And we're in there. It's a direct line of messaging to us. And we're trying as often as we can get available to be in there. And we're trying to do weekly Q&As and some exclusive content. But more importantly, I just want to say it's just a fun group to be in. And although there's a small fee as a subscription fee, every dollar of that goes back towards contributing how we make the content that we make. So anything from travel series to anything that we do, we're taking this and we're using it. Basically, you're helping support us being able to do these things and bring you guys more content. So you're supporting the content while at the same time being an integral part of it, because in the community, that's where we're talking about and asking, hey, what do you want to see? What courses do you want us to film?
Right.
Who do you want to see on the podcast? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's literally a group chat and we're all going back and forth. It's been a great community, and everyone in it has just been awesome.
It's been fun.
I'm having a blast.
It's fun. We're doing another Q&A today.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that stuff.
So go to golficity.com/clubhouse for all the information on how you can get signed up. And it's a lot of fun. It's like the cost of a cup of coffee a month, and you get to be in there, and it's a really fun private community. All right, let's do a quick word from our sponsors, Mike, and then we're going to dive into this instructional segment. I want to really, no pun intended, dig in to how you can use those ground forces. So let's do a word from our sponsor. We'll hop right into it.
All right, we want to thank Titleist for sponsoring this episode. The TSI driver offers players 2 distinct ways to take advantage of their most advanced metal lineup ever. You could find the one that fits you and experience what it's like to step up to every tee ready to perform. You got to check out the TSI lineup of drivers. Frank and I, we've been fitting now 2 years on it. Mm-hmm. It's like the most favorite club in our bag. The way that we're hitting the ball, the way that we're controlling it. I'm now hitting a draw. Yeah. I'm hitting a fade when I want to draw. I'm getting more distance than ever because I have a driver that's fit for me. Best driver, hands down, I ever owned in my life. I'm sure you can say the same.
100% hitting more fairways than ever before, and I absolutely love all of the premier shafts that you can combine the heads with. You dial it in just right with the right shaft and that TSI2, TSI3 head. That's why the fitting is so important. Man, once you get that thing dialed, confidence through the roof.
Through the roof. And talk about a sound. It just sounds like a rocket ship when you hit it. Aesthetically pleasing as well. I mean, guys, check it out. Go to Titleist.com or check out a local fitter near you and get fit today.
Yes, and we also want to thank Footjoy. Footjoy sets the standard for golf shoe performance and style in 2021 with the all-new Premier Series, inspired by golf shoes of the past, but supercharged for today's game. They designed these in collaboration with some of the world's best players, and that's what's so great with Footjoy. They are working directly with everyone from the best players down to your everyday golfers like us, that they're getting feedback that goes into these shoes. But players like Justin Thomas, Adam Scott, Max Homa, the Premier Series, it's that classic styling. It's got the premium waterproof leathers and great details that just exude craftsmanship. They're my favorite shoe. I've got them in a couple different colors. I wore them for the Vermont series. There are some of the only golf shoes that I can say I consistently wear 36 rounds and 36 holes and no problem whatsoever. The comfort, the traction, it's all there. And it's complemented, that stated that all of that great design and that classic style is complemented by the state-of-the-art comfort and the performance features like that Versa Track Plus outsole. So you can learn more about the Premier Series by going to footjoy.com. And guys, I'm going to tell you a little tip. These things have been hot. If there's a color you like, order it right away.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they have been hot and they've been sold out. And I ordered my whites, all white Footjoy Premiers, and it took like a couple weeks or so to come in. Mm-hmm. So if you've got your big trip or something coming up and you want to look fresh for it, order in advance.
That's it, man.
That's just my own personal little tip for you guys. The other one, guys, I don't want you to miss out on this. ShotScope. ShotScope has been a longtime sponsor and supporter of the show. We love them. We use their products every time we're out on the golf course, whether it's the V3 GPS stat tracking watch or the laser rangefinder, the Pro L1. They're in our bags. We're using them all the time. We rely on them. And here's the best part. The pricing right now, Mike, is literally, when they sent us this, I literally emailed back and said, I just want to make sure this isn't a typo and that we're allowed to talk about this before I say anything, because this is, incredible.
It is.
The V3 GPS watch, get this, $179.99 for this holiday season.
That was the old price of the G3. The one that didn't have stat tracking.
Without the stat tracking.
Exactly.
And the G3 is down to $129.99. I'm thinking immediately gift for golfers, stuff like that. Because the nice part too is all of these are no subscription fees.
That's right. That's the best.
So you get this as a gift for a golfer in your life. Buy it for yourself. You've bought it. You're done. The rangefinder, the Pro L1, $169.99.
Oh, stop it now.
Right?
Come on.
This thing has got, slope calculations, everything that
pin lock vibration.
It's got the multi. It's amazing how much is packed into this rangefinder for that price. So now's the time. Get it. The V3 GPS watch especially, that has been like the marquee for us. I love the fact that I'm getting all of that laser-like accuracy of a GPS numbers on my watch. It gives you front, back, middle, as well as to hazards. But it's also tracking each shot. And I think one of the features you and I love to do so much is last shot. Right? Yeah. So we talked about it earlier.
When you hit a big one.
You hit a big one, you can just, when you get to your ball, you click the button and it'll tell you exactly how far you hit it.
Instant feedback of how far you hit it.
Instant gratification.
Your own shot link with you out there. It's great.
It's great. So you guys got to give them a look. Go to shotscope.com/Golficity. Stock up before this holiday sale is over. These are prices, honestly, I haven't seen before, and I don't know if we're going to see again. So you got to make sure you grab them now. Go to shotscope.com/Golficity. All right, guys, back to the show. All right, so we want to talk about this. We want to dive into this ground force, and we think about power in our swing. A lot of us as golfers, we think about normal stuff for power, physical strength, speed of our turn, equipment. The power that we can generate from the combination of the heads and the shaft and all that stuff. But we're missing out on like one big vital opportunity. Like I said earlier, is first being aware of it. And that's that ground force to get more speed. And again, I think this is a thing where golfers in general are all benefiting from this becoming more available and aware to your regular golfers. I think this is something that's, although science is definitely improving this, and we're seeing even at the highest level golfers are taking advantage of this, but I think it was something that was only really aware at the highest levels, where they were really honing in and measuring and things like that, their ground forces and working specific. We've had recently we did that podcast with 18 Strong, and we're seeing more and more of these. How do I want to think about them? Like they're like athletic kind of programs that are designed in a way that help golfers with the types of things that we do out there. And one of those, I'm seeing more and more golfers are working on like their vertical jump and things like that, because you're starting to realize that as you push down on the ground pushes back, and you can use that power
that's interesting,
in your rotation. So we're seeing that. I love watching, checking every once in a while, like a guy like Justin Thomas' story on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you'll see the workouts he's doing. It's nothing crazy like squatting big, amount of weights. He's doing like the bands, the resistance, and he's working on ways that like very focused to how that it enacts in different forces in the golf swing.
Oh, big time. Those guys are doing crazy things in the gym. And it reminds me of the time speaking of Golf Performance Center, they had the vertical leap thing.
Yeah.
That I had to try.
Yes.
So now I know why that's there.
Now you know why.
Because you wonder, like, why do I need to jump high?
Right. You're like, hey, this is not a basketball facility, but
right.
You know what? You'd be surprised at how many, and this is why I like to see, especially from a young age, guys, athletes who aspire to play golf, guys and gals who aspire to that, playing multiple sports, because the how things transfer from one to the other is, I'm finding more and more. It's just more and more examples of it. And we'll talk about that in a second. I want to talk about an example in basketball that can help give you a visualization of how it would work in golf. But the ultimate thing is the ground. It can help you generate more speed because you have the opportunity to push off the ground while you're swinging down through impact. And it's a good example, we'll talk about multiple sports. One good example is you and I, we both played baseball for a lot of years, right? Think about when a baseball player steps into the box, one of the first things they do is they take, their trail foot and dig it in.
Yep.
And you dig in because you know that as you swing, you're going to be pushing down in the ground, and you want to make sure you have a nice secure base that's going to push back.
Right.
And you're using that power. And I'm no scientist how the exact physics work, but the reality is you push into the ground, that ground is going to push back. So they're using that leg to generate the force, and they're digging in. Now, other than maybe in a bunker, as golfers, we can't do that. We can't dig a hole with our foot before we swing, but it's why we do rely on the traction that we get from like our shoes and things like that, because we want to make sure that we got traction when we go to enact those forces, because they are big forces. But I think that's the most important thing, is just first in understanding that force. And then you can put it to your advantage.
Yeah, and by the way, you just brought me back to a very dark place when you talked about the batter's box, because the last competitive baseball game I ever played in, I failed to dig into the sand, and on the pitch, my foot didn't dig, and I totally blew up my knee and tore my ACL, and I blacked out at the plate. And this was, we're going 20-something years ago. I still haven't repaired the ACL. The only surgery they did was to take the 18 broken kneecap fragments out. Yeah. So the doctor's like, you can live the rest of your life with the ligament like this. Just keep your legs strong. I'm like, all right.
Just keep your legs strong.
I didn't dig into that ground, and because of that, I overextended it. And you just brought me back there for a second. Sorry.
Oh, well, I didn't mean to take you down that trauma.
But interesting fun fact, the at-bat before that, I hit a grand slam. So I went out. I struck out on the third pitch that I busted my knee. It was a strike 3. The one before was a grand slam. Okay. So that's a great part of the story.
You can remember that part.
Right.
But if nothing else, it shows you how much force we are generating.
Yeah.
If you're generating so much force with your turn that you
I'm busting my kneecap open.
Right.
Yeah.
It shows you. And in golf, similarly, I mean, I laugh now at people who used to joke that, golf was not a sport. Play it a little bit and realize how much force it puts on your body.
Huge.
And this is why we talk about here on the podcast often. We talk about, different things you can do to keep your body in shape and moving and limber, because I think the recipe for injury is what a lot of us do, which is hop out of the car cold and go start taking some driver swings.
From the car, par from the car.
Par from the car.
If you're lucky enough to get the par from the car.
We've done it. So, but that's what I mean. Like you really, a lot of things you're doing there that you could injure yourself. But again, go back to the fundamentals. One big one, and again, I know we have a range of different abilities golfers who listen to the show. So for some of you, this may seem like commonplace, but for some of our newer golfers, one big common error is not having enough knee flex. Now, if you think about it, if your knees are straight, think of it almost like a spring. And if a spring is like fully extended, it's got no more ability to push down on the ground, right? But as it starts to bend and flex, now it's pushing a little bit.
Right.
Same thing with your legs. If you were standing there, take the extreme and try to take a golf swing with your legs pin straight. You have no ability to push anymore. You're straight. In order to push, you have to get those knees flexed a little bit. And where I'm thinking about this is, and where the power can be generated, think about like a free throw in basketball. And think about if you tried to do that with legs straight, no bend in the knees whatsoever. You would have to get the ball there with just your arms.
Right.
Which is possible because it's not a very long shot, but that's why coaches will teach using your knees. And it's a lot less effort in the upper body if the knees are able to push down on the ground, which pushes back, and then you can throw that ball. Now, I'm not talking about a lot of shots, jump shots. You got to jump up over someone to shoot, but there's no one in front of you on a free throw, right? You got to just do. But you taking it with a completely locked straight knees is not going to be easy. Same thing with a golf swing.
Right.
You got to maintain your knee flex so that you have that ability and there's a place to go for basically generating that force and pushing down and the earth kind of push back against you. But where we find this is most essential is really going to be off the tee. That's where you're going to be using the ground forces the most. That's where the most focus is going to be. That's where you have the opportunity to use the most. The ball is teed up. Use the only shot really where you're hitting up on the ball a little bit, and you can start to really take advantage of that ability of that springboard and pushing up and hitting into the ball, and you'll just drive the ball so much further.
It's funny seeing Molinari in this article because I instantly thought of him
Yeah.
Because I noticed on the range he does this crazy drill where he's just swinging and like jumping at the end.
Jumping.
Yeah.
And that's the drill we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Because that's that feel that you want.
Got it.
And this is where like that visualization can really help. You look at Molinar, and this is, by the way, I still can't get over with you the fact that you can always recognize a golfer just without it seeing his face.
I played 18 holes with the guy.
Yeah, but you do this. We did that. Remember we did that shadow thing where I had shadow cutouts of all the
silhouette game.
The silhouettes, and you were guessed who they were. I don't know why you're so good at this, but
I saw the Nike logos.
I thought
the Callaway
that was
bag.
Casey. I thought that was Paul Casey at first, but now that I'm looking at it, you're right. That's definitely Molinari.
Yeah. Yep.
But this is why, too, you want to go to the show notes because you can see some of these visuals, or make sure you're watching the show if you can on YouTube, Facebook Watch, or on Golficity or in the Golficity app. Because some of the times visualization, I can try to explain it as best as I can, but visualization goes a long way in being able to see it. But think about how this works in a practical application. Talking about driver, let's say you start with your knees with the appropriate amount of flex. You also don't want to flex too much, but you start with that appropriate amount of flex. You make that backswing. You want to just stay balanced. We talked about this before. Balance, balance, balance. As soon as you get off balance, things like swaying and stuff like that, you're going to lose consistency. You're going to lose power. So I think having that little bit of knee flex also helps with creating a balanced situation.
Yep.
And then as that downswing starts, that aggressive turn, and this is where the knees are still staying flexed, but as you your hips start to open up, and as that downswing develops, you push off the ground, you notice your legs start to straighten. Now again, if your legs were straight to start with, they'd have nowhere to go. So that flex gives them somewhere to go, and as all that ground force is being pushed back, you're almost, that's that spring effect, you're starting to straighten your legs, and that really speeds up your turn. And that's what it's about.
Interesting. Yeah.
We want to hit the ball further. We got to turn.
Right.
Turn.
Absolutely.
And that effect creates that better turn. So it's not something you want to force. If you do force it, it's very possible you end up straightening your legs too early, and that's where you end up with that dreaded topping the ball. It's more so, again, being aware of it. And not necessarily overdoing it, just introducing a little bit more of this at a time to get to the level where you see Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, they're literally off the ground. That it takes amazing amount of practice and time, an amazing amount of coordination. There's certain things I'd say, unless you're a long drive hitter, reserve that for the reason these guys are in the 0.01% of golfers.
Right. Exactly.
But it doesn't mean you can't do a part of it. Introduce some of it into your golf swing. Yeah. So let's talk about that drill.
Yeah, I want to talk about because
did you notice I was doing it in the sim before we went?
No. Were you?
I snuck over right before we went live here. I snuck over to the sim and I started
I'm going to be doing it.
You got to try it.
I'm going to try it.
As soon as this wraps up, you're going to get over there and you're going to try it.
I am.
But the drill is kind of simple. And this is, again, it's a field drill. If you guys are aware at all of anything with any field drills, you see them a lot on Instagram and people putting them out there. It doesn't mean you want to replicate the exact same thing with your real swing. A field drill is all about exaggerating the motions. And we see all the best golfers do. We see Tiger has field drills, things that exaggerate the motion to really lock it in with the mind so that you get an element of it in your real swing.
I like it.
Right? But here, what you can actually do, and do this without a ball. Because you don't want the ball there, because then it becomes more real. It's a feel thing. But and especially when you take out the idea of the worry in your mind of trying to make good contact, you can be a little freer in your motion. But what you can do is, without a driver, simply you take your driver. You can even do it without a driver, but without a ball, more importantly, and pretend like you're about to hit your shot. Take that big backswing, but then for righty golfer, as you rotate left, extend your legs and think of yourself as almost launching, almost jumping, like a free throw jump shot type of thing. Get that feel of what it feels like to come up and use the ground force, push off the ground to the point where if you want to take it really crazy far, you can literally jump. Feel what it like to just getting that feel of what it feels like your legs pushing into the ground pushing back, and it's causing you to kind of launch up. Then after you've got that feeling, you could do a couple of those, introduce the ball, and now you're not going to jump because you're going to miss the ball. That's the reality.
Right.
But you feel some of that, some element of that pushing up through the driver as you turn. And it is going to take a lot of practice. You got to get the timing right. As I said before, if you try to force it, what's going to happen is you're going to extend too early. You're going to miss the ball. So, but it's more so getting the feel of what it feels like to create a faster, more powerful rotation by using by taking that bend in your knees, pushing down, and that starts to straighten up, and you're kind of coming up and hitting that ball, and you can get a lot of power out of it.
Sure you can. I mean, do you think, like, forget about any type of health limitations, do you think, like, anyone who could put a decent swing on a golf ball has the ability to hit the ball 300 yards?
No. I don't think anyone does.
No, okay.
Because
let's throw that out the window then.
Let's be real. I mean, I think
body size.
I'll put myself in that condition. I think myself with my back issues has a certain limit that I can do.
Got it.
Like, for example, a 300-yard drive, I think it's kind of like breaking 80. There's maybe 10, 15% of golfers that do it.
Okay.
I think the same with a 300-yard drive, and I'm perfectly happy driving the ball 265.
Right.
You know what I mean? And playing the right tees.
Of course.
But what I'm saying is, for example, I maybe I'm saying it a little bit wrong in that you did say, like, if you don't have physical limitations.
Yes.
But what is a physical limitation? It could be your total body size.
That's true too. That could.
But then again, you get a guy like
Tom, like JT, like,
or Zalatoris.
Right.
I could pick him up.
Right, because that guy's so light.
But he's
doing all these things.
He's doing everything so right, and he's so coordinated. He turns so much.
That's just it. If anybody's doing everything right, then they might.
Right, but your body has to be able to do everything.
That's
right.
true too. And there's going to be limitations.
And you can make the case that with the proper amount of time spent with stretching and in the gym, you can get your body there.
Yep.
But, like, for example, I'm got to be real with myself. I think where you avoid injury is by being realistic. And my realistic is I can only turn so far, and I've got back injuries that start to aggravate. So I only turn as far as I can comfortably without hurting myself.
Right. So you don't have the rubber band ability to fire off that long drive.
Right. Where I need to get a little bit more rotation, a little bit more push.
Right.
But I can still maximize the amount of rotation and push I can do within my limits of not injuring myself.
There you go. Okay.
Right. And I think that's what it comes down to is maximize. And where we're leaving gains on the table is when we're not aware of this and we're not kind of going to the max that we can go before we cross that threshold into possible injury.
Right.
So I think, that's what it comes down to is getting used to it and just maximizing what you've got and what you can do. I think where we start to go off the rails is when we try to do something we're seeing on TV and we take it too far.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's where, as you said, it's a good point to bring up because we don't want anybody injuring themselves, taking it too far, injuring yourself or something like that, or creating other issues. If you don't have certain elements in your swing, like swinging harder is only going to expose those.
Right.
I know. I mean, we talk about it here all the time. We're real golfers. We're 10, 15, 12 handicaps. We bounce back and forth. The reality is we don't do everything perfectly. And because of that, we hit the ball better when we kind of slow things down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's when you try to speed up, you lose fundamentals that are key for good ball striking.
Yeah.
Balance, things like that.
Right.
When we try to ramp it up, certain things go out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your best golfers, they're going ramped up, but they still maintain all their key fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Tiger said.
Mm-hmm.
He's like swing as hard as you can, so long as you can still hit the center of the golf face, the face of the club.
Tiger's dad
told him that, and then he kind of,
Yeah.
But I think that's so true.
I get it. Yeah.
Because think about it. I mean, that's where a lot of us lose distance too. It's like, whoa, I got 110 mile an hour swing speed. And I'm only hitting it this far. Well, because at 110 miles an hour, you're a little off balance and you're not hitting the sweet spot. You're out a little towards the toe or the heel, right? And so that's where your smash factor goes down because you're creating a ton of club head speed, but you're not transferring it to the ball.
That's where every fitting or lesson I go to, they scratch their head and go, I'm looking at your club head speed, but looking at your total carry. And
right.
Something's not adding up.
And that's where sometimes we are pushing ourselves to try to maximize one number. Like if I need to hit it further, I got to get more club head speed. In reality, we can get a lot more bang for our buck by just making better center face contact.
Exactly.
Right. So then once you get that center face contact, now slowly introduce these things, work on them again, slowly so that you don't lose that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gold standard is now you've got the power from a really strong, powerful rotation and you're still making center face contact. Then we put you on the long drive circuit.
There you go.
Yeah.
My dream come true.
There it is. But hey, try it. Try this little drill. If for nothing else, it'll give you a feeling like about your knee bend and about that force and turning. But just like I said, don't take it too far and try to do it with a real swing and you're hopping off the ground and you're topping the ball. At that point, don't blame us.
Yeah, don't blame us.
We forewarned you. Anyway, that's everything we have for you guys this week. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 402. Make sure you check us out on our new Golficity Clubhouse community on Leveler. You can go to golficity.com/clubhouse to join that. And if you haven't already done so, do us a huge favor. Subscribe to our brand new Golf Podcast YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot of fun things with that really soon. And we're going to be working hard to build that channel up so that we can reach even more of you with these shows that we try to do, week in and week out, try to bring you the best we possibly can.
Absolutely.
All right. That's everything we have for you guys. We'll see everybody again next week.